When he arrived here, he was only a young boy with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, culture and progress. But HOXHA was to give him a lot more. In the midst of the workers, communists, he was nurtured with the ideas of scientific communism. The time was to come when he would be the teacher of the workers, because first and foremost, he knew how to be their pupil. Confrontations with the occupiers followed, one after the other. ENVER HOXHA refuses to sign the notices book of the Lyceum, in which the staff is instructed to survey the students to prevent them from getting involved in political activity. 3 days later, on December 12, 1939, he is given the sack. From that moment, he devotes himself entirely to the struggle and the revolution. The communist groups were faced with duties of the utmost importance. In the front ranks of the demonstrations and all the efforts stood the communists. They were the organizers and leaders of the 28th of October 1941 demonstration in Tirana. It is in the comprehension and the correct solution of the major duty of founding the party that the greatest merit of Comrade ENVER HOXHA and other comrades lies, in those difficult times of occupation and boundless hopes. Earlier, again in Paris, ENVER HOXHA, the student, walked this street. Left without a bursary by the Zog regime, he was compelled to interrupt studies at Montpellier. Here he had voluntarily attended the lectures at the Faculty of Justice. He frequented worker environments of Paris, the clubs of Marxist education of the Communist Party of France, delved into the teaching of the French Revolution, became more deeply acquainted with the all-famous Paris Commune. The Prime Minister of New Albania entered the Palace of Luxembourg to take part in the first peace conference.
Le peuple albanais a montré, non seulement pendant la guerre antifasciste, mais aussi pendant la Première Guerre mondiale, combien il était résolu de combattre l'impérialisme italien, qui visait nos terres et nos biens.
The whole world must know that the Albanian people do not permit anyone to discuss their borders and their territory. Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin invited and received in Moscow Albanian delegation with Comrade ENVER HOXHA at the head. Unforgettable meetings with the pupil and continua of the work of Lenin were to be followed by meetings with another outstanding revolutionary, the hero of Leipzig, George Dimitrov. The warm and fraternal atmosphere which Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin and Dimitrov reserved the representatives of the Albanian people and communists, the words, lessons and valuable advice which they gave constituted another confirmation of the line implemented by the Albanian Communist Party and an internationalist support for the future. from these mountains that the war was led. The partisans had been poorly clad, hungry, unarmed. The Nazi encirclement seemed insurmountable. Those who were allegedly our friends and allies advised us to surrender. "It's hopeless," said the English. "You have lost the war. You are encircled. There are only two alternatives. Either get yourselves wiped out or surrender." But the party replied, "What you dare to say is the culmination of treachery. We'll never surrender. We'll continue our struggle through to complete victory. Nothing will change this time too. No to Khrushchevite revisionism, war against the traitor of Marxism-Leninism."
ENVER prapë në Moskë, ja përplasi në fytyrë, çuditi gjithë një botë. Në
Foreign bases do not defend, but undermine the independence of a country. Another major danger hung over Albania. It was extremely difficult to distinguish and create a concise idea about it. This was the danger of the Yugoslav chauvinists, an old danger for Albania, but which was now borne by the leadership of the Yugoslav Communist Party itself, with Tito at the head. The sound leadership of the Albanian Communist Party, with Comrade ENVER HOXHA at the head, was becoming more and more convinced that behind the smiles and the pomp of the friends lurked sinister anti-Albanian and anti-Marxist aims. Later on, the whole world was to learn what kind of a communist Tito was. The high-flown promises, accompanied by long lines of zeros on paper. The manipulation of a double dealer with the economic convention. The flagrant plunder, intrigues, espionage activity of the Yugoslav envoys made the leadership of the Albanian Communist Party reflect deeply. The initial accusations, the friction and the quarrels with the Yugoslav envoys during the years of the war intensified on the eve of the liberation and openly erupted at the time of the Berati plot. Once again, a shameful withdrawal of enemies. The enemies of the party and our people, the imperialists and the revisionists, regard us as a thorn in the flesh and hate us. They are infuriated when they see that within their rear areas, a tiny country and a heroic people are fighting with heroism and persistence to defend their freedom and independence and to build socialism successfully.
Stani, dans la langue du pays Tchipori, signifie pays des fils de l'aigle. La disparition progressive des religions s'est déroulée très rapidement dans un pays à prépondérance musulmane où les Turcs avaient laissé de très mauvais souvenirs et où l'endoctrinement est constant. Dans les villes, des haut-parleurs diffusent les informations et la doctrine.
Declarata cotilla bene de naționaliste tir african în Algerie. Țimășum se ducit americană de zac de tubară în Paris, bandit demonstrată per par ambasadës amerikane në favor të marshimit në Washington, të parashikojnë të bëjnë me 28 gushtës e zakt amerikan kundër dallimit racial. Ata I dorëzuan disa qindra peticione ambasadës së Shteteve të Bashkuara. Aktori Zezak William Marshall ishte në radhë të parë të pjesëmarrësve në demonstrat, ndër me cilëve ishin gjithashtu shkrimtar dhe muzikantë të shquar.
Këta janë të udhëhequr gjithmonë në drejtimin e partisë, e cila I mëson dhe edukon me frymën e shenjtë të Marxism-Leninismit. Njëkohësisht, ata janë revolucionarë, të flatë, aktivistë dhe njëkohësisht të ndërgjegjshëm.
La doctrine officielle reste le mot d'ordre défini par Staline, la dictature du prolétariat.